I want to tell you a story about our members who have been struggling, not just in the past few months, but for the past 2 years. But let's make no mistake, the cost of living crisis has been 40 years making. The neoliberal orthodoxy has been allowed to proliferate, whether it's privatisation of our public utilities and NHS, anti-trade union laws, erosion of employment rights. It's made millionaires and billionaires richer, whilst the rest of us have to scrape a living to get by, worry about putting food on the table, worrying about how we're going to pay the next bill, worrying about whether we too will need to go to a food bank. Food bank use has exploded. All of this in the 6th richest country in the world. I don't think it's right. Do you think it's right? No! One thing is for sure, this consumer-driven, debt-laden economy does not work for ordinary people. The sight of Tory ministers partying, lining their pockets and getting high on oligarch money as the rest of us fret about paying our way is as obscene as anything I've seen in my lifetime. As a musician, I may know some superstars, but I'm not one of them, I'm sorry to say. The vast majority of my members are working musicians. It's a job, not a hobby. We have to pay the bills too. And I have to say that because there's a rumour going around that some people think because we love our profession, we should work for free. Go and ask a mechanic or a plumber whether they should work for free, and I think you'll get the answer. But that is literally what musicians face every day. So we in the music industry as musicians know a thing or two about insecure work and the consequences, the gig economy. It was invented in our industry, invented by unscrupulous bosses and those that think we should just perform for the exposure. Let me tell you something, some 80% of our members are freelance. They have no employed terms, so have zero protection. And those that do have seen them viciously eroded since 2010. Doug works for the NEU, so he'll know that some of the experiences of our members experience some of his. We've seen education cuts, and we've seen our members suffer from those, whereas once they were employed, they now find themselves self-employed, doing exactly the same job as they were before austerity hit in 2010, but of course on less pay and worse terms and conditions. In other parts of our industry, the story is the same. Whether you work in an orchestra, in a theatre, or you're one of those musicians like me who write and perform under their own steam, pay and fees have gone backwards. In some cases, whilst the big production and theatre companies have seen their profits absolutely escalate. Come COVID, some 46% of my members didn't earn a penny and got no government help. We actually nicknamed the Cultural Recovery Fund the Cultural Redundancy Fund because what it was doing was protecting buildings and managers' jobs. Many musicians during COVID gave up their careers and are now working alongside you in supermarkets, driving delivery vans or working in care. Prior to COVID, the music industry in this country was worth nearly £6 billion. It's worth half of that now, and yet we still have musicians expected to go out in a band for 3-piece or 4-piece and do a gig for 150 quid. Or if you're lucky enough to be able to afford to record your own stuff, to earn just 1 hour's minimum wage, you need 3,000 streams on Spotify. Yet at the same time, the 4 major labels in the world last year increased their profits by 18% to £20 billion. When we can't work, as many have not been able to during COVID, these problems still exist, and even the digital economy is screwing us. 60% of my members earn less than 20 grand a year, and half of those will find that the money that they were earning prior to COVID was in European touring. They can't do that anymore either. So I think we're slap bang in the middle of a class war, and the sooner people wake up and realise that, the sooner we can mobilise to get rid of these charlatans in Westminster who only serve themselves. Does Britain deserve a pay rise? Of course it does, but it also deserves decent public services, secure work, an end to privatisation in the 6th richest country in the world, a better standard of living, and with energy bills going up by 54% and inflation at 7%, it will be us again that bear the brunt. And that should be enough to say enough is enough. If we're going to win this battle, and we're going to win the cost of living crisis, then we're going to have to stand together and fight. Are you ready to fight? Solidarity!